makes the catch. He's going all the way. 20, 15, 10. Touchdown. Texas Tech takes home the victory.
Welcome to the Broadway Shuffle, wherever you are and however you may be listening, whether on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or Texas Tech Plus. We are so glad you are here. As always, make sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube or follow on Spotify and Apple, and download the Texas Tech Plus app for all the latest news and content. And shout out to the 1,500 of you who have subscribed to our channel. We keep on making landmarks here, guys, in the subscriber game. So we appreciate all of you who have subscribed. We've got a full house tonight. We've got Clayton, Conrad, and Zyler. I am your host, Brennan. And we've also got Ben Roberts, Texas Tech linebacker, coming on the show later today. We're excited to talk to Ben. But before we have Ben on, we're going to go through the 10 biggest games that will decide the Big 12 championship this year and walk through why those games are important and how that might affect Texas Tech and their path to the college football playoff. So, Clayton, you're in Lubbock, man. You've got a sick backdrop. They're visiting your family. How is the LBK? I know, Zyler, you live there, but how's it going for you, Clay? Good to be back home?
Good to be back, man. I was at Chimmy's yesterday. Loved every minute.
every second of every minute. Yeah.
Me and Clayton were there, and we saw somebody get married there, like a bride and a groom walked in. It was crazy.
At Chimmy's.
Yeah, they had gotten married. They didn't get married there. But it was definitely a first time. And I've seen a lot of stuff at Chimmy's. That was the first time I'd seen a bride and groom.
You never know what you're going to get on Broadway or on the Broadway Shuffle, for that matter. Conrad, less than 2 weeks away, man, from football season. So we got a lot of big games we're going to go through today. Excitement level 1 to 10. You just, I know you're ready for this moment. 100 million.
100 million. 100 million. No, and with which we'll talk about this, but Kansas State, Iowa State coming up this Saturday. Just football is so close, and seeing all of the highlights from not only Texas Tech's camp but other camps around the country, it's here, it's ready, and college football is right around the corner. And I think what we're going to see is potentially, like we've seen other people talk about on other shows, this may be the best college football season ever. Everybody always says that every year, but I truly believe it this year for reasons that are well documented on the Broadway Shuffle.
That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, let's get right to the 10 biggest games that will decide the Big 12 championship game and what that could mean for Texas Tech. We're going to start, Conrad, with a game that you mentioned. First game is Kansas State, Iowa State, Week 0. Z, tell us why this game is probably and might be one of the more important games, and it's happening in a week that technically doesn't even have a number next to it.
Yeah.
But biggest game of the year.
0, not a number?
I mean, I guess 0 is a number, but you know what I mean. That's dumb. Like,
come on.
Why are you doing
why
week
is it
0?
week 0?
Like, if there's a game, it's a week 1, right?
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, we need to take that up with the schedulers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think the way that we did this list, these are games that are going to affect the Big 12 conference as a whole. There's some non-conference games that we have on here. So if you see a non-con game and you think, how does that affect the Big 12 title race? Understand that's where we're coming from this. But I think Iowa State, Kansas State maybe has the claim as maybe the most important game for the entire season, at least from this vantage point right now. Both teams may end up being terrible. They both may end up being good. But the winner out of Ireland this week is going to be the betting favorite out of the Big 12, just right off of the bat. You're going to be 1-0 with about 3 weeks left, 3 weeks till you play again. And then a conference rival and another conference contender is going to be sitting 0-1, 2 games behind you from a tiebreaker perspective. It's an absolutely massive game from two teams that have either won a Big 12 title or have been in the Big 12 title game in the last 3 years. It's hard to overstate how big of a game this will be in Ireland. Kicking off at 11 a.m. I'm super excited to watch. I've actually got Iowa State winning this weekend, but yeah, it should be a great game.
Yeah, Clayton, this game is obviously not in America. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what the reception is to this game. Obviously, a lot of eyeballs because it is the first game and there aren't any other college football games going on. So this is an opportunity for the Big 12 to kind of showcase as well, like 2 of their top teams early on with plenty of eyeballs on them that might not otherwise see these teams play when there's several other marquee matchups throughout the year. So is this an important game for the conference, like for these 2 teams to look the part as well, if that makes sense, to like look like they could be playoff contenders?
Yeah, I think so to some extent. I mean, I personally don't expect either of these teams to be in the playoff, but they're definitely contenders, and like they should be upper half of the conference, so it'd be nice if they looked like competent football teams. It's interesting that they chose this game for Ireland. I feel like being a rivalry, I feel like that's a bit weird, but I kind of like it. A lot of eyes on the Big 12. I feel like this game is more important for Iowa State, honestly, because they play Iowa like 2 weeks after this. So if you lose to K-State and then you're staring at another game versus a Power 5 opponent to start 1-2 potentially, like your season is derailed right off the bat. I mean, Tech felt that in 2023. So I feel like it's a slightly bigger game for Iowa State, but huge for both teams, and it's feels like a real uphill battle if you start 0-1 before anyone else has even played.
Yeah. Conrad, I guess, how sad are you that this game's not an SEC game on Saturday?
I mean, it's football. So if it was a group of 5 game, I'd probably be watching it. But I think I'd rather watch LSU, Alabama, or Georgia, or South Carolina than Iowa State and Kansas State. But hey, that's just me. I will say, I
can't believe you just included South Carolina in that statement.
Stop that.
I would much rather watch South Carolina than either Kansas State or Iowa State.
Shane Beamer has had one semi-good season at South Carolina.
Well, I think Lenore Sellers is going to be much better this year than he even was last year.
South Carolina is going to go 7-5 this year, and you can take that to the
Agreed.
I mean,
we'll see.
Still, I'm just choosing
to fight Conrad this episode. I don't know why.
Hey, save the predictions.
Fine. It's all for the content. It's all for the content.
Save the predictions for Thursday's episode, which we'll be getting to all of our. We're going to do our Big 12 college football playoff. All of our predictions before the Week 0 matchup dropping on Thursday. So Conrad, I'll save you. I don't want to give anything away, but you're high on South Carolina. I'm
high. I'm maybe higher than most. I mean, I don't know. I think they showed some flashes last year. I think SEC's a tough league. I mean, it just is what it is. But I will say this about Kansas State and Iowa State: I am very excited to see how far Avery Johnson has come under the tutelage of Matt Wells. Very excited.
That's a great.
You actually had
I was really interested to see your knowledge on that game, but no, great. Well, that's awesome, man. That was good, Conrad.
Hey, is that not knowledge? Are you knocking my K-State Matt Wells knowledge?
No, I'm not. I'm actually impressed.
Is he the full-time OC now?
I forgot he was there. Yeah,
he's full-time OC.
Yeah. Well, anyways, let's get to game 2, big game. But yeah, and Z, to your point, I guess I should have mentioned why these games matter for the Big 12, what it could mean for the conference. Maybe not conference game implications, but in terms of the goal to get to the conference game, what it could mean and why these games are important. So saying that our second biggest game we have is Week 1, the first game of the year for these teams, Baylor and Auburn. Auburn coming to Waco August 30th. A chance again for Baylor and the Big 12 to kind of show some of their muscle. Potentially Baylor is, a lot of people are picking them to go to the conference championship, win the conference potentially, and a chance right off the bat to show that. So why do we have this game here slotted at number 2?
Yeah, I think I believe, and somebody's going to fact check me on this, Arizona State plays Mississippi State, and then Baylor plays Auburn. I don't remember if anybody else plays an SEC team in the non-con. So it's one of your 2 opportunities to showcase yourself against a league that considers themselves the premier conference in college sports. I think it's just a big opportunity for your conference. And, we argued about this in the YouTube comments last week. There's people that are, I will never root for any Big 12 team ever. I hope they lose every single game. And there's people that think, I want my conference mates to do well out of conference because it only helps Texas Tech. And I think either side that you come down on, it's fun either way. You can kind of win. But yeah, this is a huge game just for brand perception for Baylor. But then, if Baylor beats Auburn and then a lot of Big 12 teams beat Baylor, that's just going to make everybody else look better. It's a big game for your conference, and it's Week 1. It's one of the biggest games on the biggest opening weekend, or I guess the only
and
opening
it's like Friday night too.
Yeah, it's a solo game. Everybody's going to be watching. Huge opportunity for both of those teams to make a statement, make an at-large case. Baylor's they're one of a handful of teams that has out-of-conference games that will impress the committee if it comes down to getting an at-large bid, and this is probably the biggest one, except maybe Oklahoma State going to Oregon, but I don't foresee Oklahoma State trying to make an at-large case to the committee. So yeah, big game for the conference. I'd be hard-pressed to think of a game that's larger that would be outside the top 10 here.
I really haven't thought about this point until now, but the fact that the Big 12 gets Kansas State, Iowa State Week 0, really the singular game, and then Baylor, Auburn Friday night, really the big singular game. That's three of your main conference opponents for a Tech perspective that you get to see on the national stage, and a lot of people are watching early. So
and
a lot
TCU, UNC, Monday night.
And then another Monday night game. So
I'm pretty sure Colorado plays Friday too. If I remember correctly.
Is that Georgia Tech?
Against Georgia Tech, yeah.
Okay. Yep. And great transition there, Clay, because we actually have that game as an important game, trying to fill, multiple teams here on this list that could potentially make a run to the Big 12 and what we want to see out of them or what you think you'll find out. Georgia Tech, Conrad, coming off last year with a lot of hype. Nearly beat Georgia on the road. Should have beat Georgia on the road.
Should have beat them.
For that purpose of this is a team. Haynes King is returning. I'm not trying to turn this into a Georgia Tech podcast, but a lot of talent back for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, and then Colorado, a lot of question marks, losing a lot of talent. So we're going to find out a lot about both teams here early.
Yeah, I think you're going to find out a lot. I think, on Haynes King, I think he showed all of his talent that he had as a 5-star recruit. I believe he was 5-star, maybe high 4-star coming out of Longview High, the Longview Lobos there, and then went to A&M, and A&M did not turn him into anything serviceable. But then he goes to Georgia Tech, and now he's great. I think it'll be interesting to see how Colorado, really how much Colorado loses by. I don't think it's a question if they're going to lose. I think it's how much are they going to lose by, just because I think this Georgia Tech team is really powerful and can do a lot of damage. And also with how much Colorado lost, it'll be interesting. I will be curious to see what the perception is of Colorado after this game, after the loss that I've already predicted. I don't know what you guys think. Do y'all think that'll change the perception of Colorado nationally? I know it's not the same without Travis and Shadur, but how does that work itself out for you guys, assuming they do lose to Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I feel like not many people are in on Colorado this year, so I don't know that this game does a lot for Colorado specifically. And I think more most people would be expecting Georgia Tech, but I think this is a big game for the ACC versus the Big 12, because I feel like it seems like I don't foresee both these conferences getting 2 playoff bids. It seems like one's going to get 2, one's going to get 1. So if it comes down to the end of the year, it's 2 teams with the same record that didn't win the conference. Yeah, you'd hope that Colorado at least can look like they're on the same playing field as Georgia Tech, and then TCU has a game against North Carolina as well. So I think those 2 games could be big for that.
I actually think Colorado has a chance to beat Georgia Tech. I mean, that's going to be a huge time zone difference for Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech's going to have no idea what either of these quarterbacks are going to look like in Pat Shermer's scheme, whether it's Caden Salter, whether it's Julian Lewis. I'm not writing off the Buffaloes. Now, there's a chance that they just completely crash and burn. That outcome exists, but their defense was surprisingly good last year, and they bring back a lot of those guys. I think Colorado has a chance to be a good team, probably not a title contender, but them being respectable, maybe flirting with the top 25 throughout the year, makes everybody else, if they are beating Colorado relatively consistently, look like a much better win. So yeah, I think a big game for the league's perception.
Yeah, good question there, Conrad. Next game number 4 on our list is actually technically 2 games, but I'll explain. It's Baylor and TCU versus SMU. The Christian private universities are joining together to play the Methodist University. It's going to be a battle of the evangelicals. And
there's a lot there that we'll
there's
just
a lot
past.
there that we could get into. Yeah, but no, both of these Big 12 schools play SMU, and so we have these as a big measuring stick game for both of Baylor and TCU. The battle there amongst the private schools. It's going to be interesting to see. For me personally, Baylor coming off the Auburn game, and then you get another, a team that made the playoffs last year. This non-conference slate for Baylor is extremely difficult, and they have an opportunity to really stamp their place going into conference of, hey, we're here. We are legit this year. And so I think for me, that's why this game is on this list, because for Texas Tech, you're not playing Baylor this year, you're not playing TCU this year. So to get them to not play them, which stinks, by the way, you do get to kind of see how they measure up against a team, Clayton, to your point, in the ACC that made the playoffs last year. So there's a lot here for the Baylor, TCU, SMU games as a whole.
It'll be so interesting. Baylor is very realistically looking down the barrel of 0-2. and what that would do if they just go on a tear through the Big 12 after beat, everybody's going to say that your league is fraudulent if they go 7-2 in the league and make, even if they lose by 1 point in each of those games, starting 0-2 against SMU and Auburn is not going to be a good look. Even if I will relish in it, it'll also maybe stink for Texas Tech. So just very interesting game for the narratives.
Yeah, the narratives are important here for the non-conference, Clay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if Baylor loses both of these games, you really need them to be bad for the rest of the season, or else, to Zyler's point, it's going to make the Big 12 look really mid. But I'm so interested for these 3 games from SMU's perspective, because, I mean, I feel like it's very realistic that they drop both of these, because the Baylor game's at home and then the TCU game's on the road. If you're SMU, you'd probably rather it be flipped, I feel like, because you'd be favored in that TCU game for sure. But I think they might be underdogs in both, and that would be after making the playoff last year, but then you get kind of blown out by Penn State, and then you drop 2 non-league games to start the next year. It would just be a big hit on their momentum going into this season.
Yeah, for sure. So
you can look at this you can look at the Baylor start with SMU and Auburn before that in terms of what happens if they go into, from a Texas Tech perspective, 0-2. I would rather look at it from a Texas Tech perspective of, like, whatever happens with Baylor, if you just take care of business, you'll get the playoff, right? Like, if you just take care of it. So I don't know. I don't really like in my mind, I'm not really a fan of playing the perception game, even though it's a reality, just because it's like, if you just go out there and take care of business your first 3 games and, maybe lose 1, maybe 2 games in the Big 12, and you just can find a way to win the Big 12 championship, you're in the playoff. And so I don't know. Seeing that, possibility of Baylor going 0-2 is not going to stop me from being a wild Auburn fan and a wild SMU fan. So I'll just say that.
Well, and Conrad, you might not care, but unfortunately, the people and the powers that be that decide who gets into the playoff, they care. They've made it clear.
But if Texas Tech goes, if Texas wins the Big 12, they're in regardless of what Baylor does, or what if they play Baylor and beat Baylor, they're still in the title. We're still in the CFP if we win the title.
For sure, yeah.
That's
it's just it helps if you get to the title game and lose, but you're in a conference that was really, really good and beat some of these other conferences. You'd have that going for you, I think. But it doesn't matter.
I understand that, but there's still bias against the Big 12.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're going to stay on the Baylor train. Unfortunately, we have a lot of Baylor games on this list, Conrad, so you're going to have to keep pushing through. But Arizona State at Baylor week 4 is our next game on the list. And if you're wondering, do we have Texas Tech games on the list? We do. We're going to get to several of the Tech games. But Arizona State, Baylor, why is this important, Z?
Yeah, it's Baylor, once again, this is not a Baylor podcast, but Arizona State is going to be tested immediately in the Big 12. They're going to go to Waco. And I think this game is more about Arizona State than it is about Baylor. Arizona State they're really fortunate, 6-1 in 1-score games last year. And the 1-score game that they did lose was in Lubbock when they scored at the very end to make it an 8-point game and then tried to kick an onside kick with 16. Like, it really wasn't a 1-score game. They essentially went 6-0 in 1-score games. What does that look like this year? Are they able to hold on? What does the offense look like without Scattaboo? It's going to be a really big measuring stick for the Arizona State Sun Devils. I'm really fascinated to see what that team looks like as the hunted, as the team that everybody is gunning for. They're not sneaking up on anybody. Everybody's got Levitt circled. Everybody's got Dillingham circled. Big game for the Sun Devils there. And if they go in and win, it's going to be all right. Like, it's Arizona State. You're going to have to go out there and beat them. You're going to have to keep them out of the title game and keep them out of the playoff. They drop that game. I think the perception for them will be, all right, it was kind of a one-hit wonder. Even though it's only one game, it doesn't define you. They could still go 8-1. I think people are always looking for reasons to doubt non-perennial powers, and Arizona State can give those doubters a lot of reasons to do that if they drop their first league game in Waco.
Yeah, well said. Clay, any thoughts on the Arizona State Sun Devils, not Wildcats?
I kept wanting to call them the Wildcats too.
Dude, I do that. I mess them up all the time.
I agree with everything Zyler said. I also think the toughest 4-game stretch for Arizona State starts at this game. I think they have home versus TCU and then at Utah and then versus Texas Tech. So if you drop the first one of those, that feels like, big blow to the season. And kind of like Zyler said, like maybe last year was a fluke, even though I don't think that's the case. But yeah, that's kind of what I thought about it.
Yeah, Z, and don't even give Conrad the idea that we've turned into a Baylor podcast. I think that
No.
our subscriptions and everything would go away pretty quick.
Conrad will never let that happen.
Yeah. No, I'll never. I'll there are a lot of things in life I'd let happen before that happened.
Yeah.
And Brennan, I want to kick this back to you. The exact same week, two teams that are looking to challenge for the Big 12 title meet in the state of Utah. The resurgent Kyle Whittingham team will face the Texas Tech Red Raiders, our beloved Texas Tech Red Raiders. Speak a little bit on that game. What are you thinking that week 4? I think it could be the Big 12 game of the year. It has potential. All these games do, but thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've said this before, but I think this is the game for Texas Tech where I'll know how legit you are coming out of Salt Lake City, because Utah's got one of the best offensive lines in all of the conference for sure, but even in the country, 2 potential first-round picks, starting at tackles. I think people are selling Devin Dampier a little lower than I personally think he's going to be better than a lot of people think. I think that Utah, to me, is a team that they're not flying under the radar because they're still, have some of the highest odds to win the conference, but everyone kind of does too in that top 6-7 window. So I think this is one of the better and more underrated teams, or least talked about teams in the conference. And so I think this is a huge opportunity for Texas Tech. If Tech goes into Utah and wins, and the defensive front that is very highly talked about all fall camp, obviously with the transfer portal additions, if they go in and take care of business in Salt Lake City, I'm going to be amped. I'm going to be like, I've seen enough to know that we can beat anybody in the conference in one of the toughest places to play in the conference against one of the best coaches, arguably maybe the best coach in the entire conference. So I'm high on Utah for that reason. I think this game for Texas Tech is the biggest game. I know it's your first Big 12 game and first road game, but if you go in and dominate or show that you can beat a team like that, you can beat anybody else on your schedule.
Yeah.
Or go ahead, Clayton.
If the defensive line has multiple sacks in this game, I think I'm going to start spewing some crazy propaganda, because you mentioned the 2 first-round tackles, but also I'm pretty sure Devin Dampier took 4 total sacks last year at New Mexico. He does not get sacked. So, I mean, even if you get 1 sack, I would view that as a win. I can already see the meltdown happening whenever we record 0 sacks this game from the fan base. So if your D-line dominates, I don't think there's an offensive line the rest of the year that could, hold you in check.
Yeah, I'll say this, Brennan. I'm old enough to remember when Utah was supposed to win the conference last year, and we all know what happened then. So
Injury to a legend, a true legend of the game, Cam Rising, with the best hair in the business, man.
I saw on Twitter today somebody posted the 2018 Cam Rising commitment when he committed to Texas. That was almost 10 years ago.
That's a wild.
It's crazy.
I was in college when he committed to play, and then when he signed and got on campus with Texas.
Yeah.
I think this game will be, I mean, I wonder, we don't know what time this game will be yet, but if it's a night game, that will be an absolutely epic environment in Salt Lake City for Texas Tech to go play in. I think you'll know too. I mean, let's just say, if I expect it to be a close game based on the talent that both teams have, but let's just say that Texas Tech goes in there and wins by 17 points. I'm with Clayton. I'll take that propaganda up to an unhealthy level that probably will, I don't know, may make somebody else's Tommy Tuberville of the week on another Texas Tech podcast or something like that, because it'll be something to behold if that happens. And I think that's a possibility. And I'll say this: I'm not high on Dampier. I think Dampier is not nearly as good as he could be. But then again, I have failed at evaluating quarterbacks in my past, and so I may fail here as well.
Where's Josh Rosen at, man? Josh, where's that guy at?
He's actually in law school, I think. So he's.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, Z. I mean, this game,
we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, Z. I mean, you might against a culture like Utah. I think that's why this mattered. They had a tough year last year, obviously, but they lost 4 games by 7 points or less. So even amidst all the injuries they had, that team was still very competitive. And Kyle Whittingham has been there for so long, and so I know I respect Utah and I respect Kyle Whittingham. I don't love Utah. But I just think that the program at which they put on the field week in and week out and how tough they play, you go in and make a statement in your first Big 12 conference game on the road like that. I mean, you're getting pretty excited and love it.
Totally.
Yeah, so it's going to be great, man. Next, we're going to stay in the state of Utah, actually, for our next game on the list, which is Arizona State at Utah. I mean, we now we've kind of gotten into these schools quite a bit now that we're into the game 6. But Z, it just feels like both of these teams come in with a lot of expectations, both physical teams. Dillingham kind of reminds me of like he's just gritty. He wants to play tough football. He's passionate about the game. This is going to be a really interesting game to watch.
Yeah, this one is a schedule thing for me where I think both teams are looking at clear paths to the title if they come out of these games with a win. Now, I think the even crazier thing is Utah and Arizona State both have a bye before this, but Utah, let's say they beat Texas Tech, they're going to beat West Virginia the next week. They'll have a bye, and then they play Arizona State. If Arizona State beats Baylor, they then play TCU, they have a bye, and then they go to Utah. If those teams are both 3-0 coming into this game, that has a potential to be an absolutely monstrous game for the Big 12 title odds. Now, there's a chance that Arizona State loses to Baylor and TCU and Utah loses to Tech, and it's kind of an inconsequential game. But trying to project out the schedule, you can see this really being a bellwether, top 20, top 15 teams playing each other. And that would be, something that I don't think you're going to see super frequently in the Big 12, and this has a chance to be that.
Yeah, for sure. Clayton, I want to go ahead and move to the next game. We're going to stick with Arizona State here, but this involves Texas Tech. It's Texas Tech at Arizona State, which is on the 18th of October. You have an opportunity if you're Tech, and let's just go best case scenario here going into this game and why it could be so important. Let's say you start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-0 going into Arizona State. And that would be wins over at Utah, at Houston, versus Kansas at home, assuming you take care of the non-conference slate. So this would be another measuring stick game, another tough road game for Tech. 3 of your first 4 Big 12 games are on the road, but a huge opportunity when you're talking about Big 12 title implications or conference game implications for Texas Tech.
Yeah, for sure. It's honestly a lot of the same things as I always said for the last game for this one. But if you do beat Utah, then, you have Houston after a bye. You would be favored in that, and then you expect to beat Kansas at home. So then, you get through this game unscathed, and then you're into like at-large contention, even if you weren't able to win the Big 12 after that. I think you'd be in the top 10. Whereas if you lose the Utah game and then you're coming here with 1 loss, you lose this one, that's going to be really tough to get into the Big 12 championship, and you're probably up to tiebreakers just even with 2 losses. So yeah, huge game, especially if you're able to beat Utah in that first game of the conference slate.
Yeah, Conrad, which road game are you more confident about, Arizona State or Utah, if you had to pick one?
That is a great question. That's a great question. Honestly, probably. I think we're going to get both of them, to be honest with you guys. I'll say right now, after thinking about it just for the last, 10 seconds, Arizona State, because I think the defensive front will have an easier time with Arizona State than Utah. And again, I think that's where the games are really going to be won and losses up front. So I don't know if you guys would have a different opinion on that, but I'll say Arizona State right now. And I also just am interested to see with obviously Dampier. While I'm not a believer in him, he's a pretty mobile guy, and he didn't take very many sacks last year. Levitt is as well, but I'd say probably Dampier is a little bit more mobile than Levitt. And so looking at that front, I think the defensive front is going to have an easier time with Arizona State. Do you guys disagree, agree with that? How would you slice those two up?
I don't know what to make of Arizona State's offensive line. And I think Utah's offensive line is better than Arizona State by far.
Yeah,
so
that's what.
I would say you'd have an easier time controlling the game defensively, potentially against Arizona State, than you might against Utah.
I totally agree.
So for that, I'd give the edge.
You're going to control the game. You may not, but in the event that you do, I think it's easier against Arizona State.
Yeah. So that game's going to be nuts in Tempe, man. God,
I'll be there.
Are you going to that?
Well,
y'all are both going to that game. What the heck?
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite.
Thanks for the invite.
What are we doing?
It's that thing with Texas Tech Plus, man. They said me and Clayton could go out there. We're traveling with the team.
Wow. I gotta figure out what this deal is all about. Why Conrad and I will be left stuck. I actually might be in Tuscaloosa that weekend. Actually, I'm pretty sure that's Tennessee,
nice.
Alabama.
Who did they play that?
Tennessee. So I'll smoke a cigar for all 4 of us if Alabama wins.
You should do it if Tennessee wins.
Yeah, that would that would be really funny as well too. But next game on the list is Baylor and TCU. I hate how much we've put Baylor on this list, but these
I
games
can
are,
be sorry, I was about to say we can be super quick with this one, but this is literally Baylor's only tough road game of the whole year.
yeah,
So
well
A
said.
conference game.
or yeah, sorry, tough conference game. They play as
Yeah,
SMU, but
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, a road game at TCU. Does anybody ever play a road game at TCU?
How many episodes in a row are we going to go?
Are we
where
gonna-
Conrad's insulting the TCU fan base?
Could we
I think
keep?
we're at 5 or 6 in a row.
I mean, I'm gonna keep going there. If you tee it up for me, I'm gonna hit that drive right down the middle, 300 yards every single time.
Yeah,
I think it would be. I think we should let Conrad do it every single week of the season. Like we should. Like I said this last episode, I want to get TCU's fan attendance, and we guess it each week and see how close Conrad is to being right. I think that would be fun. But
That
to
would
your
be funny.
point, this game is also, ironically enough, on the 18th of October. So it's when you're playing Arizona State, Texas Tech. So middle of the season, they're coming off of a bye. I think you guys have mentioned that. And then they go to at Cincinnati the next week. So this is an interesting spot for Baylor, coming off a bye against a big rival, but then having to go across the country to a road game after. You know, it'll be interesting, but huge when it comes to what this could mean for both of these teams, because I feel like both these teams need this win. They want the win against the rival. They need this win if they want to play in Arlington. So for that reason, that's why it's made the list. So okay, we've got one more game on our list, but I also have a bonus game that I'm going to add as well. But our last big game that will potentially decide a path to Arlington is Kansas State at Utah. So, Clay, you're not that high on Kansas State. I know we mentioned them all the way back in week 0. Here we are in week 13. So we're kind of finishing and ending a Kansas State potential run here. Will they be playing for a spot in the Big 12 championship at Utah?
Man, that's actually a good question. I'd say no. But it feels wrong to doubt K-State. Like they consistently win like 8 games at least. So I think they'll be good again, but I don't think they have the talent this year that they've had in the past. And I think one reason to include this game though is it's just kind of a quirk with the Big 12 scheduling, but it doesn't feel like there's that many big games late in the season between teams that are expected to be contenders. And this is one of the few big games. Like the last one we had before this is week 8. So, you know, one of these teams is probably in contention. So with it being the last week, I think that's the last week of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think it's a big game.
The funny thing about this is there's probably going to be like a West Virginia, an Arizona, a Cincinnati. One of these teams is going to pop up and be in contention in late November, and they're going to play a monstrous game against Colorado in Boulder. And it's, you know, it's just something that we're not going to be able to predict. But yeah, when you're looking at the schedule, it's just really not a ton that jumps off the page based on what you think about these teams at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, Conrad, if you had to pick out of that trio, I'm interested. Now that Zyler's kind of brought it up, what surprise team do you think will be playing a meaningful game come late November? Cincinnati, Colorado. You know, if you're kind of thinking the teams more towards the bottom, like an Arizona State from last year, is there a team that you think we're not talking about that will be playing a meaningful game that last week in November?
The Houston Cougars.
You know, that's a trendy.
That's a good choice.
I don't hate that one.
I don't hate that one. I don't either.
I'll be interested to see what Wegman does. I mean, we just talked about Haynes King earlier in the episode, how good he's been since he left A&M. We'll see if Wegman maybe does the same thing. I mean, there's also another quarterback who won a Heisman Trophy at OU that was really good after he left A&M. So quarterbacks leaving A&M and having success is a trend. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, I like
Great
that. And
point.
that's another Tech road game there at Houston this year as well. So the bonus game I wanted to say, because you'll be clinching a spot in the Big 12 title game, will be Texas Tech at West Virginia in Morgantown there to end the year. That could be a huge game
blizzard.
for Tech, man. In a blizzard, maybe a rainstorm, whatever the weather is in Morgantown in the late November. You never know. But I do think this is it is a big game. It's your last Big 12 game on the schedule, and you could be playing for a spot to play in the Big 12 championship. So I'm hoping, I guess it's more of a big, deep desire that game will really matter for you come the end of November. Thoughts?
Yep. And Morgantown's tricky, man. That's not an easy place to play. They support their team. West Virginia is still that team could be a disaster this year. Their running back, I don't know if y'all saw this, but they was like, he's going to be the backup. They're like, yeah, he's just not going to be eligible this year. He's just not going to be. They're like, what? He's like, yeah, it's not going to work out. And so that was odd. But they've still got like 4 of their really good projected 2D players are still not eligible. So they're still trying to add people from the portal, like right now. They're trying to get.
Haven't they added like 50 already?
No, I'm talking like today. Like they added a couple players last week.
Jeez.
That's crazy. You got
so
2 weeks.
I don't know how good they feel about their roster. Like they'll say they feel good, but actions sometimes speak louder than words. Like if we were adding people to our roster right now, I would be like, why in the world are we doing this?
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Well, Ben Roberts is going to be joining us here shortly. But before we get to our conversation with Ben, which I'm looking forward to, we're going to go ahead and knock out our Tommy Tubervilles of the week. So, Z, I'll let you go first, man, on who your Tommy Tuberville is.
Yeah, I guess the Big Ten listens to our podcast because they decided to just completely outdo the SEC and being completely ridiculous in how they view their position in the sport. Tony Petitti proposed a 2018 playoff, and I'm convinced that he's doing this so that his other model makes more sense. But he wants to give 7 auto bids to the SEC, 7 to the Big Ten, 5 to the ACC, 5 to the Big 12. It's an insane model for a playoff. 7 and 5 Michigan would have been guaranteed a spot last year. That's not a playoff I really want to be a part of. That's ridiculous. They have no idea what they're doing. Tony's a terrible commissioner. Just awful stuff all around. Tony Petitti in the Big Ten, you're my Tommy Tuberville of the week.
That's a good one. Could you imagine? I mean, Mike Leach wanted a 64-team playoff. So
what is the point of the games in August and September?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you even doing?
Yeah.
It would make it irrelevant. But we'll see, man. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Clayton, who's your Tommy?
Yeah, I was just on my phone trying to find the tweet. I think they may have deleted it, but my Tommy this week is the K-State social media team. I don't know if you guys saw this, but they made a post with graphics for some Yelp reviews for their stadium that was like 5 stars, great tailgating experience, top-notch facilities, stuff like that. And some people began to dig into them. All 4 graphics were from 2 reviews, and they were both made in 2 days earlier that week, August 6th and 8th, which, you guys may realize is not in the football season. So you think like, why is someone reviewing the K-State football stadium right now? And one of them was from a guy in Anchorage, Alaska that had 2 other Yelp reviews. So if making a post about Yelp reviews for your stadium is not embarrassing enough, they planted the Yelp reviews themselves so that they can make a graphic to post about 5-star Yelp reviews. So K-State, Twitter specifically, you guys are my Tommy of the week.
That's a good one, man. Clayton is the master of finding online Tommy Tubervilles. Nothing big media, like the beat reporters, the Twitters. I love when Clay has a good Tommy, man. Conrad, who you got?
Lurking in the shadows.
You're lurking.
Yeah. My Tommy of the week is a conference. And maybe more specifically than that, athletic directors of a certain conference. The Big 12 athletic directors this week voted 15-1 to solidify an existing game management policy related to the throwing of items onto the playing surface. If you're not familiar with this is directly targeted at Texas Tech fans for throwing tortillas on the field after the opening kickoff and subsequent kickoffs. The Big 12 Conference obviously does not like Texas Tech doing this. Some people were insinuating that people wrap things up in the tortillas and throw them at the opposing players right in front of the student section. That is just not true. That would be so hard to do. I don't even know if people could even figure out how to do that, to be completely honest. So the Big 12 Conference targeting Texas Tech, I will say against Arkansas Pine Bluff, that may be one of the biggest tortilla tosses in all of Texas Tech history with what has been done here. I don't think that's going to stop. I think it's just going to continue, and it may even get bigger. So we'll see what the Big 12 wants to do about that at that point. But at the end of the day, we'll be in a different conference in 3 and 4 years anyway. So what does it really matter?
Yeah. Was that when that came out, were you guys shocked by that? I felt like it was random. I didn't know they were voting on something like that. That I just felt like that was just a really weird thing to come out a couple weeks before the season.
Whatever, dude. They're trying to tear us down. They're doing anything they can to take away our advantages. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's going to
y'all
suck.
see the-
We get a penalty for that. That's when I'm going to get really mad.
Yeah.
Because that's the third time you do it, you get a penalty.
Yep.
But this
Aside
defensive
from
front
the,
is going to be so crazy that like we'll get that 15 yards back, no problem.
Very true. Good point. There was another Colorado Twitter guy who not only accused us of wrapping things up and throwing them in the tortillas, like you said, but he said that Jimmy Horn got hurt because he slipped on a tortilla in the game in Lubbock.
That's literally not true.
Yeah.
It's an insane thing to say.
Leave it to the dude. It's going to happen. We're going to throw them,
Yep.
Sorry. See what we care about. I loved Kirby's tweet. It was one of the coolest tweets you could say from an athletic director perspective. The 15-1. That was just really cool. All right. Well, my Tommy of the week is the Indianapolis Colts. If you're not a big Indianapolis Colts fan, or an NFL fan and you're mainly a Tech fan, that's okay. Two reasons the Colts are my Tommy. One, their quarterback situation is just looking really, really rough. You're putting Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones in. The preseason tape has not been very good. Second reason is there's a Colts super fan who's awesome. He's great. He puts out Colts TikTok videos singing a song about the matchup of that game, but they put him on the field for a halftime show to sing this song. And it's just not going over very well on social media, and I feel bad. I just don't think it was the right thing to do to put him out there. It just feels like it was an embarrassing moment. So for that reason, it's the Indianapolis Colts organization as a whole, I guess, this week. I rarely call out NFL teams other than the Cowboys, but for some reason, I just felt the need to do that, and that's my Tommy of the week. So there we go. All right, man. Well, hey, Ben Roberts coming up. I'm excited to get talking with Ben. We hope you guys enjoy the conversation. All right, now joining the show is Texas Tech linebacker Ben Roberts. Ben, welcome to the show, man. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Man, of course. You obviously are in the middle of fall camp. It's a Sunday evening. We're recording this. So you've had a busy day, so we appreciate you taking some time out of your night. What's it like, man? What's the schedule like for you? Fall camp, just going through. You're now only less than 2 weeks away from the season. What's it been like so far the first couple weeks?
Not too bad, because the way they're doing practices, they're giving us time to recover. But we do live here. We live at this facility, 100%.
So, do you bring the air mattress, or where do you park out in the facility?
No, we got all of our lockers have recliners in them. So I brought a blanket, and I got my noise canceling headphones. We shut the lights off. Yeah, it's nice.
Dude, that's amazing. You kind of burst onto the scene for Texas Tech after the Wyoming game. I know you appeared in that Wyoming game, and we were all worried because Jacob Rodriguez goes out, and then you have a double-digit tackle game against Oregon. Kind of burst onto the scene. Talk a little bit about that. That was kind of your big welcome to Texas Tech moment. Talk me through a little bit of how you prepared for that and how that you've kind of used that to launch yourself into a really nice career at Texas Tech.
Honestly, I knew that was going to be the year that I got to see the field a lot. So when I had the opportunity, it was, okay, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to prepare the way that you need to prepare, but when you make this mistake, like, you're just going to have to keep going and go make the tackle eventually. So I think that's really the reason that I played so well, is because I was like, even if I don't do my job, I'm going to go tackle this guy.
Yeah. You did a great job of that, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, watching, obviously, us watching defense and watching your career really from the time you burst on the scene till now. Obviously, this season had a defensive coaching change. Coach Wood comes in from Houston. Talk a little bit about what that scheme has looked like, maybe some differences from the old scheme to this scheme, and how you really think this scheme will set the Texas Tech defense up for success here in 2025.
I like it, honestly, just the way that it's simple. Everything correlates to everything. So you have certain calls to do certain things, and they all have the very similar checks that go along with them. So when it comes to that, that's nice. And then, having the front that we have now, you're not going to have to be in coverage for as long. So it's more worrying about the run game.
Dude, yeah, we're hearing a lot about this defensive front. We had Brendan Jordan on a month ago, and he was saying you guys, the front, like the Bear and Will, whoever's quarterbacking in practice is barely having time to get the ball off at times. Is that true?
Yeah.
I mean, are you guys really dominating that much
Yeah,
right now on the defensive side of
it's
the ball?
true. I'm excited to see what happens when the quarterback's live because they're extending plays during practice just because you can't touch the quarterback in practice. So when the quarterback's live, I'd like to see how long the play really goes.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your linebacker room. Y'all are definitely one of the more experienced groups on the team, especially like with your time at Texas Tech. I think y'all are one of the only positions that didn't bring in like a transfer that's expected to play. So talk about like how that's been with you guys just being so experienced going into this season.
I mean, it's nice. We're all really close, so we can talk about things and get like you mess up on a play or if you've got something going on outside of the facility. Like we're all here for each other. So at the end of the day, it's nice to have everybody that's been here, knows what we're trying to accomplish and working for the same goal. And it's not really like, hey, I'm competing for a spot with you, so I don't really like you. It's, hey, we're trying to win this thing, so we're going to work together. I don't care how long I'm on the field.
Yeah, Ben, it's interesting that you say that. It's cool that you've taken on that mentorship role. A guy that, we only hear press clippings. We obviously don't watch practice. You've heard a little bit about John Curry. That's somebody that Coach McGuire has talked a little bit about. What role have you kind of played mentoring him? That's obviously got to be a weird dynamic because it's like if he becomes super, super good, does he take my spot? But how do I also invest in a younger guy and help him grow? How do you manage that relationship? And how has John been for you guys this year?
I mean, for me, John's like a brother. Everybody says that we look the same. We already get confused for one another. So it's nice in that aspect that we're brotherly.
Sure.
But now he's kind of playing a different position than me. He's stepping in the will spot at linebacker and playing a little bit of star. So just having him rotate around me, it's nice to have because I know the way that his brain thinks because we sit in the meeting room and watch film and talk about things like that.
Man, that's really, really cool. Lubbock legend, we're all pulling for John Curry. We're also pulling for you. Another thing, there was a new offensive coordinator on the other side of the ball. You guys are going up against the offense pretty frequently. Two things. How has it been different from last year? And then who have been some guys that you're like, man, I hate when I get matched up on this guy?
I'll start with the matchup question just because that's easy.
Sure.
I'd say TC for sure.
Okay.
And you got Coy coming to the slot a little bit, so I'm having a matchup with Coy, and it's like, man, I'm out here on a wide out in the slot. So, but me and Coy, we go back and forth, so that's fun. I think like the biggest difference for the offense would be. Honestly, I couldn't tell you because they're similar offenses in ways.
Sure.
Just a new face, really. I feel like the offense is continuing to push the way that they pushed before. I'm sure there's a little deviation in the scheme and the way that they're running things, but it's pretty similar.
Yeah, Ben, I was thinking about this too. With the portal, and you just mentioned all the new guys that have come in, but the linebacker group, y'all have now been together for a while, and this is a group. I mean, you, Jacob, Bryce, John, we've mentioned. How close and tight knit y'all? We had Jacob on, almost like a year ago now, which is crazy. But and y'all had started your own podcast and done a bunch of stuff. It seems like you guys are so close and bringing a lot of experience and leadership to a new roster and to a new defense with a lot of new faces. How are y'all handling that as a group? And how are you guys able to kind of bring people together to create new friendships and, make sure y'all four aren't kind of just doing your own thing? Like, what has that part been like with the new guys and also just establishing such a great core in the linebacker room?
Honestly, it hasn't been that hard just because the new guys that we did bring in, they all have they're bought in. They have that mentality. So hey, what are we doing? Hey, are y'all going to go do this later? Or y'all want to watch film or you want to do this? Mm-hmm. So there's really not an aspect of separation between position groups, which is really nice. Same thing with the linebacker group. Even though everybody sees it just kind of like us four, the guys that are behind us, like the freshman we brought in, Brock Galwas,
sure,
he's with us everywhere we go. We're kind of running a pack, and then when that pack breaks off, it's other football players you're with, and it doesn't matter if it's an offense player or a transfer. We're all kind of glued together.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, it sounds. We talked to Coach McGuire last week, and I've had the opportunity to talk with some other guys, like have been mentioned. And something that sounds so unique about this team is just the chemistry that's been building, and that seems like such a really cool thing to be a part of, as you know, as a college football player, because not all. We're just fans, right? We don't get to see all the insides, the ins and outs. I mean, all of us would have loved to play college football, but just for a lack of size, speed, and talent, we all didn't make the cut. And so it's something cool to watch just from the outside and hear about. But talk a little about the team as a whole and the chemistry that's happened and taken place. Because with all the new guys coming in and joining this culture that Coach McGuire's built, that you guys have helped build, what has that been like? Just with all the infusion of new talent, new guys that have come from other places and really joined Texas Tech football.
I mean, it's been great. All those guys, when they've come in, it's been like, I feel like they've been here for 4 years with me. Like, I don't know, I'd die for these guys. If somebody's got a flat, I'm going to go help them change it. If I got a flat, I know that they're going to be there for me. So, yeah.
Man, it must be nice having friends like that. I don't know what that's like.
I would never do that for any of
I would
these
never
guys.
do that for these three guys for sure. I would do it for you though, Ben, but definitely not for Conrad. Sorry, Clay, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like each of these past 2 seasons that you played here, there's been some like reasonable expectations on Tech, pretty high, but this year is definitely different. Is that something that you can like feel in fall camp, or do you guys prepare the same way, like regardless of the pressure, expectations on the season?
I mean, Coach McGuire has been saying it in meetings, pressure is a privilege. So we know it's there, and we know what we're working for. So I think that is a help. That is helping us practice harder and achieve those goals that we're trying to achieve.
Nice.
Ben, I'm gonna just totally take it a different gear here. We're gonna talk a little bit about last year. You've played a lot of ball. Which team talked the most trash last season?
Last season, I feel like personally it was Arizona.
You can you can name names. Was it a running back? Was it an offensive guard? Who was it?
The Arizona, just the whole Arizona line. You know, they would get after you.
Interesting.
Y'all had a lot of sacks that game, right? If I remember.
Yeah.
And then I guess I'll follow up. Are you much of a trash talker? And what's your go-to line if you are?
I've told people this before. I don't talk a bunch on the field. I'm more of a grunter. You know, I'll growl at you.
Give him a snarl.
Can you give us the growl? Like, what is what? Can you do that, or do you have to be in pad?
That's like an in the moment kind of thing.
Okay.
Is that? Sorry, I just one follow up on that. Is that pre-snap? Is that while you're on the ground? Like, I just want to kind of envision, so I can look for it.
It's more of like I made a tackle, and while I'm getting up, if I'm still looking at the dude, I'm not saying anything. I'm just growling.
What a power move, man! What a power move.
So
I'm gonna start doing that to my friends.
We're gonna start doing the Roberts Grunt Broadway show. So well, I guess we'll watch for it this year. When you sack a guy or get a TFL or a forced fumble or whatever it is, we'll just be like, yeah, Ben just did the grunt. Ben just did the grunt that he told us about.
Conrad, what do you think the grunt sounds like? If you could, could you?
I don't know. I don't know. I think we should all do one. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we should just leave it up to the imagination.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's probably good. Ben, I've got, we talked about this before you got on. I wanted to know, because you said you've put on 40 pounds of, it's clear, just pure muscle since your freshman year. Of what is that? How do you do that? Like, I go to the gym and I've been, I put on maybe like half a pound in a year, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, for the people out there that are like wanting to get in shape, wanting to put on muscle, and you guys obviously have world-class, diets and dietitians and trainers and nutritionists and all of that do a great work. But how do you do that? Like, how do you get so jacked?
It's more of like tricking yourself that you're hungry all the time.
Okay.
Because like I'll, breakfast, lunch, dinner, those are happening. I'm probably going to have a meal between lunch and dinner, and then I'm going to have another meal 2 hours after dinner. So
wow.
it's a lot of eating.
Are they is that all planned out for you guys? Like, do you get like a sheet or an email of like what you're eating that day and what's all on the
some
agenda
guys
for you?
do. Some guys do. But personally, they've always been like, hey, you're doing a good job. Just keep doing what you're doing. And my thing was like, all right, I'm going to go to all my mandatory meals. I'm going to eat all the nutrition snacks that they have for us. And then I'm going to be sitting at home watching a show and go, you know what? I could really eat right now. And I'm going to order more food than I really should eat and then make myself feel bad about it. So I eat all of it.
There you go, dude.
That's
Ben,
awesome.
This is, I guess, more on the personal side. You guys get a day off. You get to be at the house. You're throwing on a movie. What's on the TV? You said you're a little bit of a cinephile. Where are you going when you get on the streaming service?
It really depends. So, like, if I have, like, a full day, I might go, like, try to find a series. Like, I'll watch all the John Wicks or I'll hop on the Harry Potters. But if it's, like, I have an hour, I might, if I have, like, 3 hours, say I'll watch a Forrest Gump. I love that movie, man.
Forrest Gump?
Yeah, it'll get me going. I don't know why.
Is it Gen A or what's getting
you going? It might be
Jenny.
It might be just because Forrest just kind of just does what he does, and it
Sure.
all works out for him. Or like, I really I resonate with the Waterboy movie because I'm
Sure.
like, it's kind of where I'm at. It's just like, when he's talking with LT, he's like, so the quarterback, he get the ball and he hand the ball, and so I go after the ball. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's about me.
That's awesome, man.
You
Two
were,
classic movies.
Yeah. You were talking about comedy movies specifically. Is there a guy on the team who's like particularly funny, like a class clown?
We got a lot of them. Like I think Reggie, man, you gotta kind of watch him a little bit, but he's funny, dude. He's really funny.
What are you like? Are you worried he's going to run off, or like what? What are you guys watching?
like, because you never know when he's gonna do something. It's
Okay.
like you could just be sitting in a meeting and all of a sudden Reggie's doing something, So you just gotta have an eye out for Reggie.
Okay, good to know.
Man, we're learning a lot tonight, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing about different personalities. I think we've talked about this on our show before. Is that Texas Tech fans? We just see a lot of people just see what happens on the field on Saturdays. They forget that players are people. They've got personalities. That's one of the things we're trying to do with our show, having you guys on and just highlighting who you guys are. Just a personal question for you, and this may cause a rift here on the podcast. But what is your favorite place to eat in Lubbock? Are you a big food guy? Do you go out to eat a lot? I know you guys are kind of chained to the facility. But when you do get to go eat, where do you go eat in Lubbock?
Yeah, so there's a couple places that like we'll all go as a group. So like Sushi Nami, and we do all you can eat sushi. We'll get after it,
and it's actually good.
It's actually really good. But the linebackers, we have a deal like Thursdays on game weeks. We all go to Kobe. If y'all have ever been to Kobe Steakhouse, yeah. So I love Kobe.
Nice. Those are great.
Are you a big barbecue guy by chance?
I am, but I just haven't really found a place here.
Okay. Evie Mays is a good spot. Evie Mays is a great
I've
spot.
been to Evie Mays, but I don't feel like driving all the way to Wolford.
That's fair.
True.
That's fair.
So
it's far.
We had a place back home that my buddy's family ran, and it was like right down the road. So I'm like, I'm not going that far for barbecue.
You're used to having it next door.
Yeah.
Maybe Evie Mays should cater a Texas Tech football meal. That's an idea.
That'd be cool.
Do you work for them, Conrad? Like what?
I'm just, hey, when I find good barbecue, man, I'm just an evangelist for it. I believe in it, And so when you find good barbecue like that, you got to let the world know. You know what I mean?
Well, Ben, maybe Conrad will deliver you some Evie Mays when he's in Lubbock
sounds good to me.
for the first game. But man, dude, we really appreciate you giving us some time tonight. We know you're really busy. Obviously, the season is less than 2 weeks away. Final question for you: just the excitement level this year compared to your first 2 years. Obviously the expectations, the national attention, being ranked in the preseason for the first time in your career. I mean, how amped are you to get ready to go? And what do you want to tell the fans as we close tonight?
I mean, I would say, man, I'm as fired up as I ever have been. Every year going into the season, I'm at an all-time high. But this year it's different just because I know the pieces that we have working around us are going to get things done. So, as a Red Raider and as, Red Raider fans out there, like I'd be excited to watch football. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fast. It's going to be violent.
Nice.
That's all. All those things are awesome. I can't wait, man. Well, Ben, we appreciate you, dude. We're so thankful for you taking some time, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again throughout the season. And excited to see you play on August 30th against Arkansas Pine Bluff, man. So get some rest. enjoy the rest of your evening, man, and good luck the next couple weeks and for the rest of the season as well.
Awesome. Thank y'all.
All right, man. Well, for Ben, Zyler, Clayton, and Conrad, I am Brennan. We will see you guys on Thursday here at the Broadway Shuffle. Wreck 'em.
He makes the catch. He's going all the way. 20, 15.